Welcome to Generational Turnaround Show, where we seek the truth and then we bring you the proof. And we bring you the proof through the guests that I have. And believe me, they are professionals in their field. Okay, all right. Trickster, get out of here. Me and Suelo and our guest is gonna do it. And we don't care if you you can watch. I know y'all think I'm talking to myself, but the trickster is the trickster. This is my co-host, Suelo, and we are going to start this day with our, our two guests. And we got some double trouble for y'all today. We've got Leroy and Yvette McClure. And I always mess that up. I hope I said that right that time. And so let me bring them up, okay, y'all, so I can get this together here. Okay, here they come. All right. Oh, my beautiful. Y'all are so beautiful. Y'all, I have had a day. But now that you are here, now that Suelo is here, the trickster has no room. It might as well go about its business. Okay. And I know y'all know who I'm calling the trickster.
Oh yes, oh yes.
In the name of Jesus, we bind him up.
All right. Look at here, look at here.
There's
I
that
am
smile.
so I yes,
Hi,
I
sweetheart.
am
How are y'all
so
doing?
thankful
We're
you
doing
are.
great. Thank you for having us.
You notice, huh, Swello?
Yeah, she has a smile too. They both have the
Uh,
same. That's why I was like, okay, that's a wonderful thing. That's beautiful.
that's
That is
why
so
I
beautiful.
wanted them on here together.
Yes.
And look, now I'm not gonna get all worked up, but today we have disability unplugged. And last week, Leroy definitely unplugged any myths that people might have about the disabled. We are not disabled. We are well able. And when I said that, Leroy just took it away. So I know now that Yvette is here, y'all, I'm gonna tell you, God, this morning, God made it very clear that I was not through with you yet, Leroy, because already showed me your beautiful wife. I met her for a minute when we was trying to get you together, and I said, "What about what does a husband or a wife, whoever is disabled, what do they go through in a marriage?" And I knew it was you he was talking about because there are so many couples where one has this ability because of whatever heart attack, stroke, what we have, accidents where people just have an accident and it changed the trajectory of their life, cancer, and so many other ways that you can become different than you when you first married.
Mhm.
You know, people are always talking about unfaithful. People talk about, well, we are not normal. I'm just gonna say we are not normal, but it's by choice because we are favored.
Yes,
So
yes.
when you are favored, that's the abnormality there because everybody is not. And God lets us know when we are favored. So I want you, Yvette, first to tell us a little bit about Dr. Yvette McClure.
You want me to tell about myself?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys for having us. We really appreciate it. And thank you for Leroy's story that's given me attention. We really appreciate that because we know chronic illnesses change your life. And in our case, as the wife, mother of 2 biological children and 2 second mother to them, 9 grandchildren, MBA in strategic planning and marketing, and just a helpmate in terms of we worked in business together now for well over 20 years. And that's how we met, working in business. So here we are. And I'm just a supportive wife and I would say loving and supporting wife and a ride and die chick that's committed to a marriage in better or worse.
Now, that part right there, better or worse.
Yes.
And a lot of people say that,
No.
The vows, but those vows come with I call it escape hash. When something come up more than they bargained for, they want to escape as fast as they can. But you didn't. Am I right, Yvette?
You are absolutely correct. And it is so funny. And I can, let me start from the beginning, if you don't mind. He took me to Louisiana on that Wednesday because I was headed to Arkansas because my sister had just had a stroke the Friday before. And so I went to Louisiana. I had my sister with a garage sale. And then we were going to go to Arkansas and I was going to spend 2 weeks with my sister to help her to recover from a stroke. And as we are preparing for the garage sale that Friday morning and going to leave to go to Arkansas that Friday afternoon, I get a call from my daughter, just panicked, crying. And so she says, Daddy, what's going on with Daddy? And all I could say is this: let me go grab my suitcase because I need to turn around and go home. And so she talked to my sister and told my sister, we don't know what's wrong with Daddy. They're getting ready to flight him out to another hospital. Something's going on with Daddy. I was 3.5 hours away. My brother and sister got me in that car. I packed some bags so quick and we got to Dallas as quick as we can. I said, I could care less if I get a ticket, long as I get there in one piece. So we got there. It was during the time, just right at the end of COVID, so to speak, and you couldn't let but 2 people in the hospital. And so my family and some other friends gathered in the hospital. I'm like, what is going on? And so they told me as much as they knew. And my mother is a nurse, a former nurse. So she had already looked up the condition of ABM. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. So we spent 3 hours praying. We're not talking, we're praying. And so by the time I got to Dallas, got to the hospital, and I said, tell me what's going on. They said, well, we can't let you back because he's already over his quota. Quota what? I'm his wife. That's no such thing as a quota, right? And I said, I'm going back there with him. You can get permission if you want to. I'm good with that. And if you don't, I'm still going. Okay. And so the lady looked at me. She was like, I'll see what I can do. Because I don't know what's going on with my husband. Is he alive? Is he well? What? And so she said, they're going to let you go back. Well, thank you very much. So I cleared out the room. Tell me what's going on. And we learned of the ABM and bleeding on the brain and all of these kind of things, because I already had a little information about it. So I wasn't walking into something that I just didn't know what to call it or what it may look like. I just need to know what he looked like. Okay. And so we got there and they told me what they had to do and some things that they were going to try. He was fine when he saw me and we began to pray and just hug and love and do all of that. I said, now what's the next step of what's the next course of treatment? What's the plan here? Because I know by the time I'm driving there 3 hours later, you got a plan. And so they began to explain to me the vessel and what they were going to do, go in and tape it off and all of that. I already knew the terms. I'd already looked it up at the Mayo Clinic. So you weren't talking foreign language to me. Okay. So let's go. And so anyway, they said, well, we're just going to monitor him, give him as much pain medicine as we can. And we think we're in good shape. He's in a very good position. He's a strong man. He's in good physical condition. I'm like, yeah, he is. But what is he doing lying there? Kind of thing. And so long story short, we began the treatment plan as we were preparing to go to surgery. We didn't realize that there was going to be a complication. And so as we got there into surgery, they realized there was water on the brain. And they said if we opened him up, he would die. And I'm like, die what? God didn't tell me that. God didn't tell me that. Okay, so what's next? And so they said, well, we will drain the water off so that he can live. And so with water on the brain, the gravity has to pull the water out. So we get back and hook him up to this machine, and he couldn't turn his head like this at all because it had torn his brain out. Now, mind you, I'm a woman of faith. I love Jesus with all my heart, soul, mind, and strength. And I know the power of what the Lord can do. And so everything you're telling me, I'm already praying against, because I got 52 people on the wall praying for my husband, and we are laying it down because we watched the son with HCM and we walked him through that. We prayed him through that. We cried through that. And I knew nothing else. So we get down to the OR, and they told me typically husband and wives get a divorce when the husband's ill, the wife leaves because she knows he's gonna pass away. And so I looked at the lady and I said, "No, that's not me. You don't know who I am. That's not who I am." I said, "This is a commitment. No, he's gonna be fine. We're gonna go home, and we're not gonna even have this to contend with." She said, "I just want you to know you're so energetic, but I'm not going anywhere, honey. I'm in the OR room with you. Don't forget that. I am going to see that you put the anesthesia in right, and you're going to do all that you're supposed to do. That's who I am." And we laughed. And so when they came out, he did well. And here we are, 21 days in ICU, tending to him. And so when that was over, we ended up going to rehab, and then a long-term rehab place. So let me just put it right here to you. We're gonna stop, and I'm gonna tell you how this ride or die wife got through this, because he was the breadwinner, and I did work. We worked in business together, but when this happened, you took the breadwinner out the mix. And Lord, what am I going to do? So that night, when all this happened on the ride home, I'm hanging in there. I'm out of my mind. I don't know what's going on, Lord. Where do I go from here? How do I pick up the pieces and pull this thing together? Well, lo and behold, I went to the closet and slung all the snot I needed to. Because see, no, Lord, I'm not asking you why. I'm asking you what you gonna do, not me. What are you going to do? Because see, you live in and through me, you work in and through me, and you allow this to happen. There's a reason for that. I don't have a clue why you allowed this. But what I do know is if you let this happen, you got something that you're going to do in this whole situation. Cried my eyes out. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to pay a bill. I don't know who the electric company is. Now, mind you, we've been married for 25 years. I don't even know how to pay a bill. Who has a mortgage? Who has the electric bill, the water bill, all of that? Well, I found out very quickly, okay, with a breadwinner laying in the bed with these machines hooked up to his head, I had to learn. I had to grow up. But remember, my key word to the Lord was this: how are you going to do this? Not me. Because if it's going to get done, you're going to have to do it in and through me. I was clear about that. I was certain about that. But he told me it's going to be fine. He's going to be all right. Okay, with the Lord, put one foot in front of the other. Let's go. And that's what we did. And so it's been a good journey, and I learned a lot. Yes, I did. And I think some of the things that I learned, commitment, we talk about that and we hold that word very loosely, right? And everybody's saying, oh, I'm committed, I'm kidding. You don't know how committed you are in a situation until something dramatic or tragic happens to you. It tells you who you are, and it tells you, you know what you're about.
Mm-hmm.
So serving the Lord became real for me. It was a
That's
little different with my son in his condition, but not when it's me standing and my husband is down.
my God. And you, Leroy, now I know you sitting here smiling inside and out, because I know it's not the first time you've heard her rendition. What I want from you, because there's some new people on the line, would you please tell them who you are first before you come?
Okay. Yes, Miss Judy. I'm Leroy McClure. I'm the husband of Yvette McClure, and we have been married as of now almost 29 years. John 3:16. March 16th will be 29 years for us, and we're excited about it. And yes, I had a stroke on July the 30th, 2021, and I was in the best shape ever. I was in the gym, in fact, when I had my stroke, and after I started drinking some water, my speech started slurring. So I asked the young man to dial 911. So they took me over to the hospital, and then they recognized they needed to care flight me to another hospital. And I was afraid to fly, but I didn't have no choice. either fly or die.
Wow. What a line.
I went over there, and I was there for 21 days in Nero ICU. I don't remember much when I was there, other than the fact that I needed to go use the restroom a couple of times, and they said, "Oh no, you stay in the bed. We'll bring the restroom to you." So they brought a portable urinal to me, and I'm wondering why I can't get up. Then they said, "You're not able to walk." Now that blew me away, not being able to walk. Whereas yesterday, I was in the best shape ever.
Did you feel like you couldn't walk?
No, my legs were good. You know, my legs were in real good shape. It was my brain. My brain
Yeah.
was kind of broken. So no, I didn't feel like I couldn't walk until they told me. And once they told me, I had to check it out and see.
Yeah, that's what I
You know,
wanted.
they brought a walker close to me. They said, "We're going to walk you down the hallway." And once I connected to the walker, I recognized they're right. I can't even walk. Now that was you talking about some deep pain. It took me mentally, it took me to another level, knowing that I can't walk.
But see, for me, Judy, it was the why of what was going on, because within 48 hours, it had gone in there twice and fixed things in the brain. And where it happened in the back of the cerebellum, which is the back part of the brain, that's your balance, your motion, that's your swallowing, and that's your eating. And so the minute he had water on the brain and they put the shunt in the front part of his head, cut off his locks. And I thought, oh, wow, they're cutting the locks off. It's going to save his life. Cut the locks off. They cut them off, put them in my hand. I put them in my pocket. And they said they can reattach. I'm like, okay, well, thank you. We'll get those reattached. He's not going to know that the locks are gone. Okay. It means saving his life. And that's exactly what it did. So what we recognize is when the shunt was put in the front of the head inside the brain and start helping the water to drain, it impaired the swallowing and the speech and the walking. So if the vessel if they had gotten there in time and not allowed it to burst, it probably would have affected his walking. But since
Right.
he did, and it was massive bleeding on the brain, we were not going to go in and open up the skull and drain the blood. We're not doing that. If it had been on the right side, that's a different story. But the left side, you can contain it over time because blood does dissipate and dry out. So within the 20 level headaches that he was having and the heavy sedation, he did not know what he was going through. But I think the key thing for us is to understand the progression of things, and things do repair. God has enabled a repairing mechanism beyond our deepest understanding. And so you just had to trust, okay, God, if it pulled this way, you can pull it back together and piece it back together. And you just trusted him to do that, and he did. But once the blood dissipated and all of that, we recognized his speech was coming back. He was learning to swallow again and talking. He just wasn't able to, we weren't understanding anything he said under those conditions. And then the speech came back, and then the impairment in the chair. He couldn't walk for those 3 months. We knew that walking takes place by the hips. They had to build the legs back up. They had to build the hips up and all of that for him to regain that ability. So hope was always there, and the trust and the faith in God's miraculous power. It was no question in our mind that these things can be restored and repaired. And lo and behold, here we are today. It's a great
Can I ask you, Yvette, what was the most challenging adjustment?
Sleeping by myself. I've never been apart from him. So I vowed this, that I was not going to sleep in my bed until he came home. And when every day I was at the hospital from the time the door opened until we had to be kicked out at around 7:00, doors closed at the hospital. And so when I went home, I slept in my clothes on top of the bed. I was not going to get underneath what I had been accustomed to with him there. And you know how that works. I said, when he comes home, we'll do that. And when he came home, I got a good night's sleep. Okay, I got a good night's sleep. But
you slept hard, didn't you?
Yeah, it was that separation. Now I understand about that period of separation you go with not your mate being there. But I was always assured he was going to return. But in the meantime, I said, I'll sleep when he gets back. I was committed to it, cleaning up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, praise music on, prayer on, all of that to keep my mind from just focusing on the situation and just being, full of hope.
I have a question for Leroy. Yeah. How did you process the emotional impact of no longer being able to function in the way you once did?
Well, I was mad at God for a moment, but just for a moment, because I recognized that it could have been a whole lot worse. When you look at the fact that 800,000 people a year have a stroke, 20%, which is 160,000 of them, don't survive. So I was grateful that I was still alive. Despite all of this that I went through, I'm still alive and God can still use me. So I had to work on my attitude. And once I worked on my attitude, it didn't happen overnight, Miss Judy, but it happened. And I was okay once I started working on my attitude because, 10% of everything that happened to you is 10%, but 90% is how do you respond? Mm-hmm. So I wanted to make sure I responded in a way in which I could say, this is just a temporary setback for a major comeback.
That's right. Well, can you give us an example about how you were mad at God?
How were you mad at God?
Well, I was mad at God because I'm a believer. I'm a strong believer. And we've tithed ever since we got married. We go to church. We read the word every day. We pray every day. So I felt like since I was doing all of these things, why me? Why me?
Yeah.
But once I worked on my attitude, the question was, why not me?
Okay.
Why not me? And and after I changed the attitude, I started thinking, Lord, allow my light to shine in such a way that people can see my good work and they will want to glorify you. And
And
that's when the healing started.
don't you think that God knows who can and who cannot?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And we say that God don't put no more than you can bear. He doesn't want you to bear anything. So
Yeah.
everything that we go through is designed for him to work in and through you everything. And so you begin to understand that when something like this happens. Because I said, if it's gonna get done, you're gonna have to do it. And he's never failed yet. I'm here today. So Judy, I think one of the things that we didn't share with you is we had to move the family and friends out of the picture.
Okay.
They had the rumors going on in the family. He was dead. He was dying. He can't do this. He can't do that. And I said, I'm gonna make a commitment to family. I'm only talking to one person off of each side of the family. One person on my side and one person on his. The person who can get the most accurate information out. And then we pulled together a group where I was texting out to a group of people every single day, all day, what was going on with him so that they could stop the rumors. And we started journaling every single thing that was going on with him. And that was a real good piece in the book that walked us through the medical side of things, because we don't understand. I didn't understand the what was going on. So I wanted to inform people, and I took the opportunity to do that through the journaling. And as a former journalist, I knew how to do that. And so
you made sure there was one side,
one person from each side of the family.
That's right.
With accurate information.
That's the word I was looking for. Accurate information.
Accurate and timely information, because I had people praying all the time around the clock.
Miss Judy, I also saw this as an opportunity to Philippians 1 verses 12. It says, what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel.
Yes.
So once I got my attitude right, it's like, Lord, I see what you're doing. And I'm going to make sure I talk about you. And as I get better, I'm going to tell everybody about you. It had nothing to do with me, but it's you working through me. You working through my wife and my children, supporting me. Because you have to lean on that support. You must lean on that support system.
And we know that God knows who is going to be there to help you.
Yes.
To help you keep his word, to help him get out his word. And Dr. Yvette was definitely that person. I gotta ask my co over there. Do you have some questions for?
Well, you know what? No, I do have a question, but it's about kind of it's to Miss Yvette, to Dr. Yvette, and her advice. That's what I want to know. I would like for her to give the younger generation some advice, because you know what? We have people, they don't believe in this monogamous marriage. It's like, oh, you know what, you go out here, you do this. And a lot of people, they feel that, oh, I can just go out here and get married. And then when something happens, like, you know, the doctors, they thought that you were going to leave your husband. But everyone does not think like that. Everyone is not in it just because I need that stability. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. Okay. I teach self-care awareness. And the one thing that I've been asking people I've been in the clubhouse streets for almost 4 years, is exactly what you're talking about right now. If something were to happen to your breadwinner, are you going to be able to get up and do it? And I always ask the question, is it wrong for a woman to take out the trash just because she has a husband at home? Why do you wait for that man to come home? As long as it's not heavy, you can get up and take it. Because if something were to happen, you are going to have to do it. So since you've been put in that situation, can you help clarify some of this? Oh, I'm just going to go out and get this because I see the benefits. I see things are going to be easy. But what happens when
the bottom drops out, right?
when that man needs you or that woman needs you, and you've taken these vows and the oath under God's word, you said I do in front of God. So, and then also at the same time, hasn't this brought you all closer together? Not only just spiritually, but the love deeper. And okay, so go ahead. That's like two questions.
I'm telling him I'm going to do this talking because she directly asked me, and I'm glad you asked me because I had to process that. Because when you take a covenant vow before the Lord in this agreement, in this union, you better be sure he's the one or she's the one that God said is for you. I was certain about that. Because when we first got married, I asked God, was this my husband? Because I wasn't going to play around with a relationship. He said, yes. I said, okay, I don't want to get ahead of you. So we got married. But the point is, you don't sign up for the good and leave the bad outside the relationship. That's with attitudes, that's with behaviors, that's with anything you go through. It doesn't have to be chronic illness. You signed up for everything. You can't take the good and not take the bad. I'm clear about that. And when the rubber meets the road, you got to be sure you are going to stay the course. And I was not a quitter. All my life I've had to fight. I know that came from a line in a movie, but I started that line. And I'm sure about that. And so I wasn't going to give up because I've always had to fight and work harder in everything that I did. So hard work was no new thing to me. My man down, I got to stand up. Yes, I could take the trash out, but every now and then, if it's great for him to be well and healthy and work and do all that, absolutely. But I'm going to contribute and do my part. And if I have to step in, I'm going to step in. That's just who I am. And you got to be sure of that because we never know. So the commitment better be so deep and ingrained in you that you can say, even in the worst time, I know what I'm going to do. You don't really know till it happens. And so I was tested, but I knew who my strength came from because his grace is sufficient. His strength is made perfect in my weakness. And I knew he had to do it. So I was clear about that. I'm staying the course, still here, still going strong, see him walking because I was the wind beneath that wing because I had wind beneath mine to help him keep going. So you better be sure, ladies and gentlemen, if he or her is for you, ride or die, sickness, health, bad attitude, no job, under the bridge, we committed. Under the bridge, if we have to be unemployed and no money, we're going to still be together. That was clear in my mind. So I just had to live it out, and I did.
So that is what it takes.
Yeah, you better be sure that this is who God said is for you. Because if it's not, you will walk away at the least little bit of sign of trouble. So if you've weathered any other kind of storms together, it should strengthen you and encourage you. And so this one really solidified some things in our heart together in such a way. We knew we needed to be on a new course. And I'm not glad per se that this particular thing happened, but God knew what it took for us to get on this new road to purpose, because purpose came out of this pain far greater than what we had before. The marriage was strengthened in so many incredible ways. Now we slow down, we can laugh, we can talk, and we can enjoy every moment and not take anything for granted. And so when you realize that your life has more purpose and meaning, and now we can get out and work together intentionally and strategically, because any moment your life could be turned upside down. And don't take it for granted. Be grateful, be humble, and really love each other, and tell each other that all the time, and mean it.
We get a chance daily to tell each other that we love each other at least 10 to a dozen times.
Mhm.
We play a game. We play this game where I can be walking around her and I can say, Yvette. Once I say Yvette, and she said, I say, I love you. And she cannot say, I love you back or I love you too. She can't say that because that's not original. She only would say that because I said it. So she just have to say, thank you. And later on, we'll see each other. Leroy. Now, sometimes I might know what she's going to say. And I say, I love you. I beat her to it. And she'll say thank you. But we do that all throughout the day.
And why do we do that? Is because if I may not be thinking about love or any of that stuff on my mind at the time, something might be going on. But if he feels that at that moment, I don't want to steal his thunder. He feels that. And I want him to shower me with that, because I probably need it at that moment. And then when you least expect it. And so it just becomes such a joy in our heart to just kind of surprise each other like that. It's better than a dozen roses. Okay. All right. So that's why we do that.
I'm over here. I'm just my little
I
heart.
answer your questions, Mr. Quayla.
Yeah, I wanna say this. This was okay. So Miss Yvette, I want you to go back and look at this, right?
Okay.
Because the whole time you were talking, Mr. Leroy was looking like, this is my angel. Oh, she's such my angel. And his smile changed, like, this is my angel. She's just talking about. No, go back and look. It's so priceless. Yeah. So,
I would do that. Yeah.
Yeah, you did answer. Because again, a lot of people think that, marriage is easy, and and they think it's just the good and the rich. But when you hit that hard spot, or like you said, when your breadwinner needs your help, you have to be there.
Miss Raylo, there was some times when I was running my company. I was the CEO of the company and the superintendent, and I was in charge. I was the main person. And we're talking about over 1,500 students, over 100 employees, $15 million budget. But there was some times when I had difficult days. I mean, days where the people were just getting on my nerves. I mean, I was having some difficult time. And Yvette could see it. She could say, Lee, it's not going good for you. I said, no, baby. I said, why don't you take over? Do you know she'll go in and take over? And the school will be doing even better under her leadership. Because, see, she already knew what was going on even when I was in the position of the CEO. She was right there next to me, helping me see things that I couldn't even see. So when I didn't feel like going in there dealing with things, she was ready to step up and do what she needed to do. So when I went down this time, it didn't surprise me when she stepped up. In fact, when I was in the hospital and they were getting ready to care flight me, all I was asking them, has my wife showed up yet? They said, no, not yet. And I'm talking to my daughter, no, not yet. And once Yvette got there, y'all, I was able to rest and say, Lord, everything's going to be all right. Because I knew she could take it from there.
Look, okay.
So those are not superhuman
Yvette,
powers. This is not any of that. So please don't thank God. It's the Lord. True. Because I take it serious.
Yvette, you have got to. Do you know how many women at this moment are saying, how do I get that though? I want that. I want to feel that way. I want to experience that. But how? I don't want my man to be hurt or me being hurt. How can I get that so that I'll have it in case something like that happens to me?
I just think it's an individual thing with you and in my relationship with the Lord. I just take it serious, and I have big kneecaps, and so you just stay on your knees because He's given me that extra padding for it, right? And you take your relationship with the Lord serious, and He truly got your back. He is your rear guard, and I just take God at His word. And yes, have we been tried a lot? Yes. Working for yourself as many years as we have. That's trial by fire, whatever you want to call it. And when I took over for 175 days as the principal, I've never been a principal of anything. I'm not even a true educator in that sense. But if this is our business together and you need me for 175 days, and I made it very clear, 175 days is all I got. And I'm gonna have to miss 2 days because I gotta go to a workshop. So that's all I did. I missed those 2 days, but I was there, minding the ship. And I just think it just shows you in the face of adversity, seriously, who you are. That reveals your character. And I just took it serious. And if you're not in it to win it, no matter what the circumstances are, don't be in it. Don't, because life is going to happen with you, without a mate. But be sure of your walk and your relationship with Jesus. And if you don't have one with Jesus, I'd just rather be on this side of heaven, believing it's true, and get on the other side. And if they say it's not true, then to get on this side, not believing, and get on the other side and find out that it's true. So you're going to have crisis. I'd rather be in them with Christ than by myself. And so I've been clear about that for many years. And we've gone through many, many things together. But individually, it just showed me God is still the same God in sickness and health, or you by yourself, or you with Him. I'm still the same God. I haven't gone anywhere. And so it just was a testing of my faith. And if I tell you, my walk has been even greater, because see, what has happened to me, it is truly the further the gospel, but more importantly, it's the walk alongside people to comfort them with the same comfort I've been comforted with too. And that's a part of living out your faith. It's just a part of it.
Well, we find that the deeper the pain, the greater the opportunity,
yes,
to draw closer to Jesus.
And then to help many more, not just one or two, but many more, because you're right. Suffering and pain is there, and people don't know how to handle it. We get that, but we know the source, and that's who we trust, and we pull on, and that's Jesus, and that's just it.
Jesus Christ is love, and once we start loving, people will come back to Jesus Christ.
Yes, if we start being the witnesses that we're called to be, and letting Him live in through us the fruit of the Spirit, which starts with love. You better believe it.
Yes.
You better believe it. Yes. Things would change. We wouldn't be in some of the things that we're dealing with in this world today. It just wouldn't be that way.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, love today was the healing word for the day.
Yes.
So here we go. Right here. Here we go.
All right.
Walk by faith, live by love.
Amen.
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 Yes.
And remember,
I have a question for both of you. How do you both continue to dream and build a future together despite the obstacles? And what gives you hope? I know y'all.
How long is your show?
Well, I'll just say I approach it the same way I approached when I first met her. The Bible says a man without a vision shall perish. When I met her, I told her about my vision. No, I wasn't trying to hit on her or anything. I was just telling her about my vision. And she said, "Hey, brother, where's it written down?" I said, "It's not. It's up here." She said, "Habakkuk says, write it down and it'll come to pass." So she wrote it down. And Gary, we've been like that ever since. We work together. And there are times when we stumble, but we always get up knowing God is in control. You know, I can stumble, but I'm not going to stay down. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a whole lot of naysayers, people out there against you. You know, you don't want those people around you because the Bible says life and death is in the power of the tongue. So if you don't have anything positive to say around me, I don't want you to be around. You will not be a joy buster. You will not take away my joy. And Yvette was always there. Hey, how can I help you? You gonna help me? Yes. And she could do things that I couldn't do. So we were able to complement one another. And the more we did that, the more things were happening. Then I turn around and say, "Hey, baby, hey, I know you're not dating anybody, but since you work with me all the time, let's get married." I thought you weren't going to get married in 3 or 5 years. Well, that was the plan, but something didn't happen. Something got a hold of me. And we got married, and it continued. Then we started having kids. We had King. Then we had Princess. And she's my queen.
I'm gonna let him tell that version. So when you get the book, you'll get the full story. Okay.
But you know, sometimes we do have different ones that, and it's all work of the enemy. The devil is a liar. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But we knew what God had for us. We kept our eyes focused on the Lord, and we kept the hope alive. We always will keep hope alive, no matter what is going on, how bad we may be today. We look around the corner. So, there's hope.
Well, this is the spin I live by. God created everything, right? And if he's the creator, he's living inside of me. God, give me some of that creativity. And so all of our approach has always been about ideas. We've done things that people say, how can you do that? We don't know, other than the fact that God is just using us and we don't take the credit for it. So we got his creativity and our minds still work, and we're grateful for that. And we don't take it for granted. And we always are talking about ideas, always helping somebody with some kind of idea, writing a plan down for them. Here's your plan, working with them, teaching them how to do different things. That's just what we do. And as a result, what we've given to people, we've gotten back in so many ways. And I'm still grateful that God is using our minds till this day for ideas that prosper. So
speaking of ideas,
well, come on with an idea.
Leroy, tell us about this 10 million steps.
Another idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, when I had my stroke, I was at the point where I couldn't walk for 3 months. The first 3 months, I was away from my home. I was living in a rehab place 24/7. And my wife and daughter would come and visit me on the weekends. And so they came to visit me one weekend after I put in about 2 or 3 weeks of working my legs out. And so they took my wheelchair, put me in the room, and I said, "I want to show y'all something." So I got up and I walked. I took my first 40 steps. Now, I was barely moving, but I walked with no help. And you know, that was the biggest moment of my life because I didn't think I would ever be able to walk again. And I've been praying daily, "Lord, help me to walk again. So I took those steps, and then I said, well, let me take 100 steps. Later on, let me take 500 steps, 1,000. Let me take 10,000 steps. Then I started doing presentations in front of all the patients, encouraging them, 100, 150 patients. And somebody would say, how many steps have you taken? I said, 5,000. 5,000. I said, yeah. I'm saying to myself, that's nothing. I'm going to take 10,000. Next thing you know, 2 or 3 weeks later, it was 10,000. Then I started taking, after about 2 months, 8,000 steps a day. And when I came home in 2023, October the 31st, I started taking 12,000 steps a day. Now I'm this week, Friday, I will pass 10 million steps. 10 million steps. Not 10,000, not 100,000, not 1 million. 10 million steps. And when I'm walking, I'm working on my balance because I still have to work on my balance. It's difficult for me to walk straight and look to the left or look to the right. It's difficult for me. I can do it, but I have to focus. But 10 million steps is right now I'm at 9,945,000 steps.
And we have Leroy's Walking Club as a result of that. So he started that at the rehab center.
Yeah.
To encourage other people to get up and walk. So we don't see life as, what is it, glass half empty? We see it as full. I see it as full. I don't see it as half full because when he was in rehab, I went behind his back to the physical therapist and I said, tell me how this walking thing works. And she said, because I said, I'm going to pray about it. And she said, you walk by your hips. And I said, shut up. She said, you have to once you don't walk for a while, you lose the, whatever it is in your legs and the ability to do that. And she said, you build those back up. You teach them how to get up and move and how to sit down and all of that. And after a while, that core is built up and and then your legs together will hold you up. And that's how we're going to keep his balance. Put the weights on him and let him walk with the weights so he can keep steady and learn how to put one foot in front of the other one again. And I was like, okay, I now know what to pray. Okay, God, let's go. So when you look at the glass, half full, it was full to me because he's gonna walk again, right?
Can I join this walking club? I'm still in the state of Texas, so I should
be hurt a little bit, but it's gonna be well worth it in the end, honey, because he cried a lot, legs hurting him all the time, and I was so glad he was in the apartment living to regain life skills and stuff. And I'm thinking, when you get through, honey, you're gonna get through this. And would you make sure he gets one of those pain pills or something, so he don't cry all night, because it does hurt when you first start off, but no pain, no gain, because you can learn to do it. And that's why people resort back to canes and, walkers and all of that, is because it does hurt and it takes work.
Yes, I can definitely attest to that. But I'm walking still with a quad cane.
Okay.
I'm walking, but I'm moving. And I'm going up and down the steps.
Oh, good.
Because my bedroom is upstairs. So I know that God, when God says, it's not because I'm not trying.
Right.
So, he's using me for such a time as this.
That's right.
Introducing me to everyone that's going to make it happen for me. And giving him all the glory. So we're about out of time.
Yes. We're just delighted. Thank you so much. I mean, thank you.
I'm so excited. So y'all give everybody a together statement that they can put in their arsenal and keep going.
Together.
And that's the key. together. Unity is critical.
You are one.
We are one.
We are one.
You know, and having the Lord on my side, that's what it's all about.
I got it. This is something we quote all the time. Two are better than one. Two are better than one, but they have a great reward. Because when one falls down, the other one's up, can help him to get up. So two are better than one. That's the key right there.
That's the key.
And Miss Judy, for you, you know, one of the things I have found is that we're stroke survivors, and we have to be intentional, strategic. You know, I have some friends that I was in a wheelchair with. We were hanging out together in a wheelchair, and they're still in a wheelchair.
Some of them
are, but the one I'm talking about, he's still in a wheelchair. And I asked him, I said, "Have you done 500 steps in one day?" No. I said, "Why not?" He's never made it a goal. We have to set small goals. It could be 50 steps.
Yes.
And all you have to do is put your phone in your pocket and then keep up with your steps.
Right.
And you do that 50 one day, do 50 again, do 50 again. When I did 1 million steps, my oldest sister said, "Lee, so what's your next goal?" I said, "Well, I did 1 million and I'm still working on my balance. I'm going to keep walking until I get my balance to where I'm comfortable with it." I'm at 10 million steps and I'm still walking because my balance is still not where it should be. Now, I have not fallen, not one time.
And we thank God for that.
But I'm still walking. As I walk, I'm getting closer to Jesus. So I'm writing this book called 10 Million Steps Closer to Jesus.
All right.
I'm thanking him for every step.
Yes.
That's my book on the back wall. Healing Words. Speaking life to generations.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We all are doing that. We are doing that. We are speaking life, not just to ourselves, but those generations out there that who's hungry for it, but they have fear. And that's what we have to break, that fear. So I pray that today was better than yesterday, but not as good as tomorrow.
Amen.
I pray that tomorrow will bring forth a double portion of blessings in the form of opportunity that we never saw coming.
Yes.
So thank you all again.
Yes.
Look, I was supposed to halfway through this, I was supposed to say, and that this is part 2, but I was so much into it. I'm just gonna have to put it in there somewhere.
Like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
Please like and share and subscribe, please.
Yes, please.
Great work you're doing.
Have more great couples like the